So that's the school right there, Starehe Boys Center. And those are some of the dorms across the way. You can see that one kid over there. He's got like some blue shorts, black kind of sweater vest, and red shirt, which is their uniform. So a lot of schools in Kenya have boarding schools, even at, I think, middle school. Think about middle school. I think it's like from grade 5 to 6. Although I was listening to a place in Jersey, they said they had some middle school, or they had like grade 6 or something. There's something like they had elementary school until the 5th grade, and then they had one school that was only 6th grade, and then they had 7 to 8, and then they had high school. Or something like that. I'll double check, but might talk about that again, but I don't think it's that important. But yeah, that was something I found that was kind of odd, that they had something like that in that town. And I don't know if that was the entire state or it just happened to be there. Like, let's say you had a sports team. I guess it doesn't really make that much of a difference. You could just have the kids from that 6th grade just practice with the kids from the 7th and 8th if you're having a middle school thing, and it's only in that town. But yeah, you can see there's fields and things like this. And with some of these schools, they'll normally have like the main school, like Starehe Boys is I think the main one. I think someone goes all the way to high school. And then they'll have smaller schools attached to it. Like right there, they have this St. Bridget Catholic School, pre-primary and mixed way or something. I don't know what's behind that. Let's go check. But yeah, these are pickies or tuk-tuks. It's these little 3-wheeled vehicles that they use for different kinds of transport. Mixed day. Okay, so this one is St. Bridget Catholic pre and primary mixed day. That means it's a mixed day school, that people don't stay at the dorms here. Kids are dropped off in the daytime and go back. But Starehe Boys, as I mentioned, is a boarding school, and there's a lot of boarding schools, a lot of situations. Even people in Nairobi will send their kids out to the Nairobi city proper, and they'll go to boarding schools out there. Yeah. Okay, right there we see, right there on the side over there. And walk up, get a bit of. So you have these guys that go around, when we're talking about technology taking away people's jobs and saying, oh yeah, this is different things. Or you just look at these vehicles and you talk about 300 horsepower vehicles, 150 horsepower vehicles. I see these guys working, and that's 1 HP. That's 1 human power. And he's doing this, and he might work an entire day, do trips all around Nairobi with all these things, all this weight, and he might get paid 500 shillings, which is about $5. That might be what he's doing all day. So you could say that, yes, any of these trucks, like that truck right there, could ship his stuff. So he could come and say like, oh, if trucks get cheaper, they're gonna take our jobs away. They take our jobs. But no, it frees people up for different things, and you have different societies and different cultures and different places where technology hasn't come in yet, and you still have people doing jobs like this. So now if you had a situation where, let's say in the West, the government banned all lawyers, or said there was a limit on how much trucks can actually ship every day, and then now you had people employed with these 1 horsepower carts, would people take those jobs? I don't think so. But does that mean like this person shouldn't be allowed to have this job? Should we get the minimum wage and say, okay, so now this person has to be paid 1,000 shillings to do his job? Should there be a situation where somebody from the outside, maybe you or somebody in the government, or maybe the United Nations, some international body comes and says, look, we need a global minimum wage, and say nobody can work for a day for less than $10 an hour? How would you be able to actually pay this guy $10 an hour? So these are just considerations people need to take and understand the differences with technology. And I think these are some of the things that I'm thankful for having the life that I've had, to see certain things where I'm not going to say you have to see it personally for you to experience it, but seeing it does help in some situations where it's like, okay, I've seen that over and over again. Then you finally start putting things together like, okay, what would it take for me to actually do that job? Instead of sitting out here on this walkover, recording this video, what would it take for me to be down there like these guys? Like you see right now, they're just back and forth between a job. And another thing is they'll have, like, due to the planning of the situation, they'll take one trip fully loaded from maybe the center of town out to the outskirts, wherever it needs to go. And then right now you see they're going back with nothing. So they're not normally being paid for this return trip. But if you just have a better situation, like something like Uber, where somebody can be going around, you can have like a cart bar or something where these guys just go around and then they're never really doing an empty trip where they're not being paid for. And that's a similar thing that happened with taxis here, where people would have to stay in one region. Like, there'd be maybe a parking spot somewhere here, like in that parking lot right there. There'd be some cabs that only work in this area. Then there's some kind of union or some kind of protection racket where if somebody else comes with their own cab, they can't work here. But now they have some like Easy Taxi, things like Uber have come, and other kind of apps. And those things come in, and they can get to a situation where somebody doesn't have to be driving 20 kilometers out of town, then come back to this spot before he can get another fare. He can go out there and pick up a fare as he's coming back from that place. So there's ways technology can help us, and there's also a lot of ways that I've seen technology really change developing countries, and there's certain ways where it's doing it in faster ways and skipping other steps that occurred in developed countries.